Oh, yes. Welcome in to the old fashioned show here. Cody Carpentier, Alex Dunlap. No Anwar Richardson today. He is traveling to Houston for the Touchdown Club. Houston Touchdown Club. Steve Sarkisian having a press conference today at noon. So Anwar will have all of the information there from that as we are getting into the part of the getting into the part of the year where we're having to just squeeze the turnip completely dry with any kind of Anwar's driving 6 hours round trip to go get a couple quotes from Coach Sark. So that's where we are from that. A bunch to get to today. We're gonna have to talk about Ryan Wingo. Can he start next year? I have a bunch of data from the spring game that we won't go over the data, but we'll talk about what it means about these wide receivers playing a little bit more positionless than we've seen before from Coach Sarkisian. We have maybe any NFL draft stuff that we need to recap. Cody and I will get to that for sure. I also have a couple of topics here from the Orange Bloods message boards that I thought were interesting that people were debating about that I was going to bring up with Cody. So we'll talk about those. And then Jason Sukamel joins us here shortly. We'll talk about Javion Cole. I guess the transfer, the California. Where is Javion Cole even from? That's just like, so he came from Cal Poly, and then this last year he was at
San Jose.
San Jose.
He's from Oakland.
From Oakland. Apparently there could be a little bit of Texas interest there at corner as it's looking less and less and less like Tacario Davis is going to be coming to Texas. We also have we'll also have to refresh the Dominic Williams stuff, right? Looks like that thing's coming down today. We'll talk to Jason. Is it going to be LSU now? It's like after all this, recruitment's a flat circle. Cody, how the hell you doing, brother?
Doing fantastic, brother. Got home, getting some work done, and ready to keep on talking football. As you said, it's May 1, and now, what was the quote last night I heard? You brought the turnip one, but squeezing the dried out orange. There's nothing left in the orange to squeeze, but we're squeezing it, trying to just get the last dripples of the orange juice out.
Yeah, man. Well, wait till July.
But at least July we get SEC Media Day and close to camp. We're not even close to camp right now. We're just
I guess when I think of July, I think about the stuff like whenever we used to do these shows on the Horn, like, and it was like you could talk any kind of sports. You get, and you get to July, and it's like the only thing you could talk about is like DFS baseball. You know what I'm saying? Like there's just nothing going on. But yeah, so the first topic I want to discuss was Ryan Wingo and can he start next year? Will he start? Because if you watched the I guess what the 2020 the 2024 spring game, the game just from a few weeks ago, right? I'm trying to get it pulled up right here. Just basically, maybe I can just go over it this way. Sark at Texas has always used a very concentrated set of wide receivers at the very top, right? It's just trended that way since 2021. So if you guys can just bear with me as just giving this as background, right? Since 2021, so that year, Sark's first year at Texas, Xavier Worthy played the most snaps of anybody. He was a true freshman that year, 85% of snaps. Joshua Moore was next up at 55% of snaps. Marcus Washington was next up at 52% of snaps. Jordan Whittington that year played 34% of snaps. And Kelvonte Dixon played 17% of snaps. So that's 5 dudes right there, right? Who, compared to the 5 dudes that Texas has, maybe the 6 dudes that Texas has as possible first men up coming into the 2024 season. And let's compare them again. Worthy, Joshua Moore, Marcus Washington, Jordan Whittington, Kelvonte Dixon. Compare that to Isaiah Bond, Matthew Golden, DeAndre Moore, Ryan Wingo. We haven't seen Silas Bolden, but maybe can consider him. And there's certainly others that they have. The Parker Livingstones, the Ryan Niblets, the Aaron Butlers, all the rest of them. But that's actually the closest approximation of what we might see as far as a split this year. Because if you look at the next year in 2022, that was Jordan Whittington with 89% of snaps, Xavier Worthy, 82% of snaps, Casey Kane, 28% of snaps, Tariq Milton 17.45% of snaps. The next player down after them on the list was Savion Red, and he only played like 62. He played 7.9% of snaps. So those are the only guys who were even that you'd remember even seeing out there, right? 4 of them, and of them, Tariq Milton, the transfer out of Iowa State, was the lowest on the totem pole, and he only had 17.45% of snaps. Okay, so that's trending toward less players, right? There's more concentration at the very top, right? Because in 2022, you had 2 guys who were 82+% snap participants, Jordan Whittington, Xavier Worthy, whereas you only had 1 guy who's an 85% snap participant in 2021. That was Xavier Worthy. And then the next highest up after him was Joshua Moore at 54%, right? We get to 2023, A.D. Mitchell comes to town. And this is when we see just the total consolidation of all wide receiver snaps. You have 86% of snaps for A.D. Mitchell, 82% of snaps for Worthy, 52% of snaps for Jay Witt. The next player down the list was Jonte Cook, who only played 11% of snaps, 98 total. So when it's been trending towards a consolidation of snaps. Cody, before I get into what we talked about as far as alignment, do you think is there any way that you could see this group of wide receivers becoming a wide receiver that you say that guy's sure to be an 85% snap participant, 80% snap participant, sure to be like one of these? Like, is there one of those guys? Is there 2 of those guys? Because to me, I have trouble looking at the group and saying that this for sure is going to be that dude.
So we don't have snap percentages from the Alabama days, 2019, 2020. When I went and did my way too early projections, I did the last 3 years at Texas and I did the 2 years at Bama that Sark had there, because the talent level, as you brought up in 2021 with Marcus Washington, Joshua Moore, the talent level is not comparable, although the depth was comparable. And that season of 2021, Xavier Worthy, of course, had a 29% target share, 30% target share, whatever it was. In comparison to if you go back to 2 years before that, when it was Devonta Smith, John Mechie, Jalen Waddle, Slade Bolden, it was 4 deep at Alabama when Sark was the OC. Jerry Jeudy, Devonta Smith, Henry Ruggs, Jalen Waddle before that, 4 deep with real talent at the receiver position.
Now that's 4 deep. Like, that's deep.
That's 4 deep. But also when you think about it, like when you look at what Bond is right now, who Dane Brugler mocked in the first round this next year, Jonte Cook, the expectations we have for him, Ryan Wingo through 1 spring game, like we're not going to put any numbers on it.
Hold on, what did Brugler say about Bond? Was there
Brugler mocked him in his way too early mock in round 1. One of the last 5 picks in round 1 or something.
Any other Longhorns in that mock?
I think Quinn and then Banks. There was 3 in round 1, I believe.
Where did he have Quinn going? Do you remember?
To the Raiders in the middle of the round.
Okay.
Gosh,
that would be good. That would be good
right now, right? But so the reason I bring up the Alabama is because, as you mentioned with 2021, the room is deeper, but the strength of the room isn't as the strength of the room now is better than it was in 2021. So that's why I brought up Alabama. And when you look at Alabama and you're talking about 85% snap shares, I don't know what the snap shares looked like back then, but I do know what the target shares looked like, right? So when it was Jeudy, Smith, Ruggs, and Waddle, it was 27%, 22%, 14%, and 10%. There was 4 guys over 10% target share in that receiving room, and then it dropped.
Who were the specific target? Who was the 27% earner in that?
So in 2019, Jeudy had 27%, Devonta Smith had 22%, Henry Ruggs had 13%, Jalen Waddle had 10%. In 2020, Devonta Smith jumped up to that 34% season when he won the Heisman. John Mechie had 17%. Waddle was down to 7%. I think he was banged up that year. And then Slade Bolden at 6%. So I don't think we're looking at 2020. I think we're looking more of a 2019 with however you want to decipher the talent. I think it's not far off when you look at the grouping that we have with Bond, Cook, Moore, and Wingo. Your question, I believe, was, can Wingo start, right? Is that kind of the question you were asking?
All right. Well, and if he does, how do you? Here's the
I don't think he does. I'm just gonna be honest with you. I don't think he does. I don't think he can, because when you look at how they ran it out there for the spring game, and you went over the numbers already, but when you look at how they actually utilize these guys, Bond 27 times lined up at X, 7 times lined up at Z, rarely in the slot. It feels like he's going to be a guy that's going to play on one of the sides, probably X. Jonte 14 times at the X, 17 in the Z, only a couple times in the slot. Feels like he's probably going to be the Z, but these guys could be interchangeable XZ. Slot, we saw the thing is, man, we've been talking about DeAndre Moore for a while, and he kind of gets continually ignored and kind of pushed down and just like, well, we probably get somebody else better. But the dude's a 4-star prospect, and he comes out there and goes, 3 for 93 and a touchdown and just doesn't play the second half of the spring game. Like, they know what he is. He's going to have this role. The nice thing is that Wingo doesn't have to be thrust into this mega role. He doesn't have to be. So you saw him go out there 18 times in the X, 7 times in the Z. No, he should be exactly what he is. He's going to be the number 4. When I projected the way too early projections a month ago, I had him as the 7th highest target earner behind Golden, behind Nyblack, behind Bolden. That's wrong. When we go back in a month or 2 or 3 and go back through that, Wingo's got to be 4 in that list, ahead of Nyblack, ahead of Bolden. Bolden hurts the most out of this because he's not here. Wingo has to be number 4. 18 times lined up in the X, 7 times lined up in the Z. Anytime Bond or Cook come off the field, it'll be Wingo. Anytime they come off the field, okay, Bond's out, okay, Wingo's in. Otherwise, Cook's out, okay, Wingo's in. Doesn't matter. He should be the interchangeable piece there at both X and Z, and that's going to be just fine. His target share should still be up in that, 8 to 10 area, 8 to 10% area.
Gosh, you need to give Wingo more action than that. He looks so good, man.
I know, but like historically, you can't. Historically, like even if you go back to that 2019 season with Alabama, 10% for Jalen Waddle, he was 4th. 14% for Henry Ruggs, who was 3rd. Like, we still have Isaiah Bond, who's a proven commodity. Jonte Cook, who is in year 2. He's a year ahead. No way you think he's the number 4. He's number 1. Okay, in our hearts, he's number 1. Yes, yeah.
This guy's just going for it. Rich loves. He's just going for it.
I'm not against it, but I just understand the process of the fact that the coaching staff loves DeAndre Moore. He's going to get all the slot, not all of it, but the majority of the slot work. And then Bond and Cook are interchangeable at their own spots. And yeah, Wingo's going to work in, but those are this ain't the NFL. It ain't. It's college. That's the easiest way to put it.
Dude, so this guy, Rich loves this just going in. 8 reps. What does this even mean? Is he talking about JT Sanders at the pro day? I don't know what it is. He says 8 reps. What are you talking about? I think this guy gets off his this guy gets off his meds. Oh, looks like we got somebody here. Parker. Oh, I don't know which Parker that is, man. Live ever, die never. For sure, brother. That sounds like one of my old fraternity brothers, man. So what's up to you? All right. 225 pounds. I don't know what this 8. I guess it is a JT Sanders take. I'm not sure. All right. So dude, you kind of look as far as the way this looks, like we mentioned, Jonte Cook, and I will say for this, clearly for the spring game, there's no way for us to go get all 22s and stuff. And during the season, when I do the deep digs, I can't do all 22. There's no way I can get all 22s from the school within 3 days of the 3 days of these games going on. But during the offseason, sometimes we'll be able to actually go back and watch all 22 footage. If we're just doing kind of reviews of stuff or all the rest of it. For this, it's not only bad broadcast film, but it's LHN broadcast film. And we all know that LHN is just a complete it's a lame duck failing organization, and they were bad to start, and now that they don't care and they know they're all losing their jobs, it's just like they just don't care. And so they don't pan in before the plays, pan out so you know who everybody's out there. Sometimes they'll cut to the play after the snap because they're on the side, having some idiot talk to Jonathan Brooks or whatever else.
Bijan Robinson.
Yes,
missed 2 plays. Bijan's talking.
Well, but the X versus the Z versus the slot stuff that I charted from the game, it's not going to be exactly right, just because there was somewhere it's like, well, he was in the X last time, and I didn't get a look at where he was this time because they just went right in on the quarterback, handing the ball off to the running back. So I'm just going to figure that that's where he was again. But it's pretty close, right? Pretty close. Jonte Cook, 39% of snaps at the X, 14% of snaps at the slot, 48% of snaps at the Z. All right, so he was the guy who we projected to play mainly at the Z, but he worked out at both the X and the Z last year. I think what Cody is saying is that Ryan Wingo plays the role that Jonte Cook plays last year. Somebody comes out at the X, somebody comes out at the Z. Wingo will play both. Okay, Matthew Golden, we were expecting him to be a Z. Dana Holgerson, famously, maybe not famously, I guess it's only famously to me because I went and search for any quotes about him talking about the type of receiver that he was at Houston. But Holgerson said, dude, he's a Z wide receiver through and through. That's what he played mostly, but he did play 28% of his snaps out of the slot, right? Isaiah Bonds, 75% at the X, 5% at the slot, 20% at the Z. DeAndre Moore played none at the X, 84% at the slot, only 16% at the Z. So DeAndre Moore, purely a slot guy. Ryan Niblett, purely a slot guy, right? Wingo's interesting. Only one rep out of the slot, but it was that awesome rep down there in the red zone, right? That adjustment to the football that we talk about with that second touchdown that he made from Trey Owens, where Owens just laid it up there, put it in a spot where Wingo can get it. Wingo has to adjust, come back, come toward the sidelines, catch it over his head. So that to me was telling, and that like, that was a situation. That was the one time Wingo was in the slot, but they get down in the red zone, and Coach Flood, who was calling plays, decided he said, like, situationally, we're gonna get Wingo involved here, and we're gonna go big, and we're gonna get him in the slot, and we're gonna have him run this switch route. We're gonna see what happens, and that's what happens. And Wingo's too sick. Gosh, he's too sick. He's got to be better than number 4. Parker Livingstone, we get to kind of interesting. I mean, he played mostly at the X. It was basically a 60-40 split between the X and the Z. Whenever Wingo's in there, he kind of plays the X over Parker Livingstone. And then Aaron Butler, interestingly, only played at the Z. And that makes sense. He's a speed weapon. He's not he wasn't ever the guy with his foot right up there on the line of scrimmage with the corner pressed on him. Always has a little bit of space. And gosh, Butler, as we've talked about, Cody, is just so fast. He really, he's so fast. I think the general overall point here is, though, when we talk about does Wingo start, I think the willingness that we'll see from this staff this year is going to be to play more guys. You don't have two that are just so. I think the thing we saw out of Worthy and Mitchell last year was that they were clearly so much. They were just so much better than the others. We're talking about guys that went in the first and the second round, respectively, this year. And people thought that Adonai fell, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, look, these guys are good and they're deep and they're exciting and they're fun and they're better than a whole lot of wide receiver rooms out there. But it's not, you don't have two guys that are just, they come into this year for sure looking like they're going to be two really highly drafted dudes, whereas the rest, you can just tell aren't. None of them are for sure going to be, but it's like every single one of them has the upside to possibly be, right? So it presents this whole new scenario and this whole new predicament. And I think the ability to navigate your way through that predicament, saying that, Jonte Cook, if we can just look at this small sample of 36 spring game snaps, played 14% in the slot. Jonte Cook did not play in the slot last year, period. He just didn't, right? Matthew Golden, 28% of snaps in the slot. You have Cook playing 30% of snaps at the X. Everybody said he was going to be Xavier Worthy's replacement at the Z. Last year, it was Adonai at the X. It was Worthy at the Z. It was Whittington in the slot. That was it. These guys are going to have more positional versatility. They're going to be positional, positionally. Maybe they could be positionless. Just say get the one out there where it's Cook, Wingo, and Golden. Yeah. Or get the one out there where it's, where we throw DeAndre Moore in the slot, and on the outside is Bond and Bond and Wingo or something. You know what I'm saying?
They're gonna run 4 wide. They just will. I mean, you'd be dumb not to be creative and get all 4 of these guys on the field at the same time.
We didn't see it in the spring game, and we haven't seen it from Sark, period, since he's been at Texas.
Okay, I get that. But again, he hasn't had this weaponry since 2019. So he hasn't had, Also, the lack of the tight end position. Jatavian's not here anymore. He's been here the last 2 years, and before that, he didn't have the weaponry to go 4 wide. At Alabama, he did. And why would you show it in the spring game if you're going to bring it out in the season? It's something you haven't done in the last 4 years. Like I that's just something that I would keep in my back pocket. They also didn't. Maybe they had an idea Wingo was like this, but they didn't know he was going to be nasty like this. So I think it's something you're going to see a little bit. I'm not saying they're going to run it 25% of the time, but I don't see why they wouldn't run it a few times a game to utilize just having all 4 of these guys in the field at the same time with the backfield as what it is. But I think and I see the comment there says, get ready for transfer portal if he's the number 4. Like that's not, I mean, Wingo didn't come here, I don't think, and be like, oh yeah, if I'm not the number 1 receiver on the team, I'm going to jump in the portal. I don't think that was the angle for him or for Bond or for Cook. Like Wingo's going to be here for 3 years. Cook's going to be here for another year. Like these guys are all going to get their turn to be that guy at the top. Now this year, it feels like Bond is just kind of being, I'm not going to say gifted that, but it was needed to bring a guy in. So Bond is going to be perceived as that guy, but it could definitely be Cook. And also, if we get 2 weeks in, 3 weeks in, and Bond is just a mild receiver, then for sure you could potentially see Wingo maybe surpassing him and taking over at the X, and Bond becomes the interchangeable piece. I'm not saying that can't happen because we've seen what Wingo can do in the spring game, but this is 4 nasty receivers, dude. This is an age has to play a little bit into it, and Wingo's the newest guy on the damn field. So I'm staying in the pocket on it. I'm of course I'm going to adjust my way too early projections, jumping him from 7th probably to 4th in the pecking order. But again, what we saw to DeAndre Moore, I'm going to keep on reiterating this as I've been doing since August, is that DeAndre Moore is nasty, and he's going to be a key piece here. I would love to see Bond, Cook, and Wingo together, but Moore's going to be on the field too.
That's just like but just my deal is to be able to get them on the field, they need to interchange these guys. They need to do all this, and even if you're right that Wingo is like a number 4,
that's not bad.
If he's a number 4 that plays 52% of snaps, and number 3 and number 2 play 54 and 56% of snaps, I think people would understand that and say like maybe he wouldn't. In that case, he probably wouldn't be the number 4 statistically because he'd be so good. And the fact is, you got to look back, whatever. And we don't even know if you look back 5 years to 2019 whether or not he was running out 4 wide. I mean, I have a hard time remembering that far back. I mean,
I'm gonna make a note and go back and look.
Yeah, it's just hard to remember that far. It's kind of like me trying to think about what I was doing probably about eight months ago before I found Texas Beef Traders. Texas Beef Traders. Have you heard about Texas Beef Traders? I don't remember what my life was like before Texas Beef Traders. Right there in the heart of Lakeway, Texas Beef Traders, ranch direct beef from imported straight from Mason, Texas, once a week, right there to the store. It comes right from the ranch. What's the dude? And we're talking Angus beef. We're talking the best that there is. This herd has never commingled with other herds. They don't let another herd near them because those herds could have been commingled with other ones. We're talking about a solid quality bloodline here, and they're not going to mess with it with any kind of cockamamie vaccinations. Certainly, none of these new mRNA vaccinations that you're getting in a whole lot of your meat you get from the grocery store. No creepy shots, no steroids, never, no inoculations, none of this stuff. Just grass-fed, non-GMO beef for your family. Use the promo code there, OBFWF10. You don't even need to use it. Just tell them you heard about it at Orange Bloods. Shay will take your 10% off. Darren will take your 10% off. Go into the place right there off Loman's Crossing. I go there. I'm in there like basically every Friday afternoon. I go in with my son. I have a couple of beers. My son gets like a Coke or something. And we just sit. We talk to Darren. We talk to Shay. Talk about the process, man, the beef. You've never had anything better than Texas Beef Traders. And if you don't live near Lakeway, it's hard to get over there. Just call them. They'll just bring it to you. I can't believe that they'll do it. And they'll give you 10% off. And I would say make sure to get the ground beef. Make sure to get the ground beef. It's only $4 a pound. It tastes like gourmet stuff. It'll turn every like spaghetti and meatballs that you have into a gourmet spaghetti with meatballs. TexasBeefTraders.com. Okay. We also have to do Cody. Do you want to talk about Eric Sells Homes, DFW?
Oh.
I mean, we all know about El Presidente. Gosh, real estate agent serving all of DFW. And here's the thing about it. look, we all know that navigating the world right now of buying homes and stuff, a little bit tough. You don't know when a good time to buy is, when a good time to sell is. Interest rates are going up, they're going down. Dude, listen, you don't got to go it alone. Find a realtor that you can work with and give you real solid advice. Somebody who knows, hey, look, they're going to tell you, hey, man, this might not be the right time, or hey, this not like now is the time. These things are about to go back up, or whatever else. You just get a guy like Eric on your side. He's very, very rich. You don't get this rich without being good at what you do. It's a very easy way of telling if somebody's good. My God, just look at El Presidente's game room in his house. Very, very rich. He's done a lot of these transactions. Give him a call there. Eric Sells Homes, DFW, buying and selling made easy. All right. So, look who we have just in time. Do you have anything else you want to talk about before we bring Jason? Maybe I can ask Jason some of these topics I was going to ask you about.
Bring him on. Bring him on.
All right. Here he is. Jason Sukamel. How are you, brother?
What's up, fellas? Hey, mic check. I was having some mic issues there. Sound all right?
Sounds great, brother. Yeah. So there he is. Thanks to everybody in the Specs chat line for joining us here. We have just under 500 of you guys. So very happy about that. If you could please remember to like the show, subscribe to the channel, we would certainly appreciate it. Real quick, let's hear from our great sponsor of the Specs chat line, and which of course is Specs.
Specs same-day delivery can save the day with our Specs app or online shopping. From world-class wines to hard-to-find spirits and craft beers to gourmet foods, delicious snacks, and spectacular sweets. It's Specs. Cheers to savings.
All right. So thanks to everybody. Please like the show, subscribe to the channel. Jason Sukamel, our editor over at Orange Bloods, and the recruiting. What do you call yourself? Recruiting guru?
Old man, recruiting old man.
Okay, I guess that works. Bunch to get to. Dude, can you tell everybody if there's anything that we know? Is Texas going to be in on Javion Cole, the cornerback from San Jose?
Yeah, I actually DM'd with him late last night. Finally got a chance to do that, and he is coming in for a visit. So absolutely, they'll be involved there. He's told me Michigan State. I've seen reports of Auburn also. He didn't tell me Auburn, but Auburn seems to think they're getting him in. But yeah, he's going to be in actually tomorrow, Alex, I believe, tomorrow for his Texas visit. Then the Michigan State visit isn't until the following weekend. So we're talking whatever that is, May 10th or something. So I don't expect we're going to see some sort of quick resolution to Javion Cole. But yeah, he is coming into Austin for an official visit.
What do you think about that timing of one weekend to the next weekend? It's not quite what we've gotten used to with the with some of these. It feels like these recent dudes that have come in, and Texas has kind of hit on some, they've missed on others, but it feels like it's been all right, we're here Saturday, Sunday, then we're driving from there to Monday, Tuesday, or all the rest. Like, do you think that gives Texas any advantage? I need to go watch this. Do you know if he's any good? I've never watched him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to watch his film. I know he was productive. I mean, if you look, like, let me pull up my notes I actually posted this morning. It's an interesting kind of story. I mean, he comes out of high school in Oakland, right? And doesn't really have any offers. So he ends up going to Cal Poly, led the team there with 4 interceptions, then goes to Sam Houston State, where he is now plays 1 year there, 3 interceptions, 10 pass breakups, 38 tackles. So the guy finds a way to get his hands on the football. He's got good ball skills. Now, how's that going to translate going from Cal Poly to San Jose State to, Power 5 school? We'll see. But I haven't watched his film, but he just put his name in the portal, and he's already got some big schools like Texas, like Auburn, like Michigan State showing interest. So,
dude, I mean, he's got some PFF juice, if nothing else.
Yeah. He was first team.
Gosh, I mean,
first team all conference, and what is he, like top 15 in pass breakups or something? I think.
Yeah, I mean, he's tops in a. This might. I mean, I'm going to need to do some more analysis on this, but like in PFF's cockamamie. But I mean, he's basically, they grade him, and I hate these grades and stuff like that. But he's right here with like the Terrion Arnolds and the Nate Wiggins and stuff. I mean, he's like out of, let's see, they have gosh, how many? So if I go to rows of 200, so out of these qualifiers, they have five. Geez, so five. So basically about 1,000 DBs. He's not in out of the top, I guess 160 teams, 167 teams. So he's in 40th place overall.
Mm-hmm.
He's actually just behind. Takario Davis is up here. What, 34?
I was gonna say he's just a touch behind. Just a touch
Cam
behind
Hart's
Takario.
33. Nate Wiggins is 37. And look, these are, I mean, we know these grades can be cockamamie, but that's even before I get to look. I mean, I noticed his reception percentage when targeted was sitting at under 50%, which is obviously really good. Like, there's just a bunch of stuff here that looks really good just right off the bat here. Snaps per reception at 14. And I'll look through more of it here in a minute. But man, when I kind of thought about this, Jason, I thought to myself, okay, if it were up to me, I would say Texas would take two more defensive I would rather Texas take two more defensive tackles than take one defensive tackle and one corner. But I do think if it's a player like this that you said did he win all conference or something? Like
Pro Football Focus, he was honorable mention by the coaches. And again, I mean, you know, we're not talking playing in the SEC either. So,
Yeah.
you know, but I mean, listen, he puts up good numbers. Like I said, he produces. You can't argue that. I mean, I've seen in the chat, that he's got, it's 10.5, 10.6. You know, I need to see if those are wind-aided speeds, but he's got, legitimate laid down verifiable track speed. So he's an intriguing player. Is he get better than, not Manny Muhammad, I'm not going to say, but is he better than a Gavin Holmes, a guy they brought in that was pretty highly regarded as a transfer portal guy? I don't know, but I would think he'd be a guy that would probably have a chance to slide into the rotation, depending on how some of these young freshmen pan out in their early stages of their career.
Dude, just one other thing about Cole. One other thing, I thought that this was super interesting. So as far as his yards, so he only allowed 297 yards receiving on him last year through 13 games. And his yards after catch allowed was only 37. So only 30. So at least whenever he seems like he's a guy that if there was a completion on him, he would at least get the tackle right off the bat and not blow up these plays. That was actually out of those 1,000 players that we talked about, that was tied for 35th in the whole country as far as
what do they have him on pass breakups, Alex? I want to say he's top 15 in pass breakups. Again, I mean, sometimes these stats can be somewhat subjective, but
I would have to download it up with the CSV because they don't have one that's PBUs plus interceptions. But oh gosh, and he had a defensive touchdown last year. But basically, if you count the PBUs plus the interceptions, he's at 10. And if you look at the PBUs in general, so he had 7 PBUs. That would put him in tied for 45th place as far as that's concerned. But a lot of those guys aren't going to have three picks.
Yeah. Well, his official stats had him with 10 PBUs, but those are San Jose State officials.
Well, maybe they count the picks as PBUs.
Yeah.
That's why it's 10.
Yeah, you're right.
I want to go back and watch this USC game because if you're looking at the PFF game log against USC, which was his best competition last year, of course, they have Brendan Rice, Zachariah Branch, and Taj Washington, and played against Caleb. He allowed 0 receptions on 2 targets, had a PBU in that game on 40 snaps. So he wasn't targeted very much in his top competitive game.
There's something to that guy, man. Hey, Jason, what about the other? Anything new with Dominic Williams today? Is he just going to LSU and we can just ship this thing down the river?
I'm never going to say that in the days of NIL and especially Dominic Williams. I mean, let's just kind of recap. Okay, he enters the portal and everybody's like, okay, he's going to Oklahoma. That's the reason he entered the portal. He visits Oklahoma first. Everybody assumes he's going to commit there. He doesn't. He then visits Texas, and I talked to him directly. And he said, man, it was an amazing visit, blah, 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 raves about Texas. So, okay, Texas is in this. Then he goes to Missouri last weekend, and Missouri people are like, hey, man, we think it's Missouri or Texas. So I'm like, all right, this thing's all over the place. Now he goes to LSU. I started hearing yesterday, and I put it on Orange Bloods in our transfer portal thread, like, hey, man, I'm starting to hear LSU buzz now all of a sudden. Well, we're continuing to hear that buzz this morning. And listen, I'll say it. Like I heard yesterday, like he was out looking for houses in Louisiana, and LSU had matched or had come up
for
with
like
the NIL
looking for
package.
rental leases.
Well,
right?
yeah, he's probably not going to buy a house, probably exactly.
That
But
would be a good-
I heard,
That's
who
right.
knows? Maybe that NIL package is that big. But I heard LSU did come up with an NIL arrangement that he was comfortable with and happy with, and met what he was looking for. Now, so as of right now, as we're sitting here talking at 9:40 Wednesday morning, Alex, I said, hey, I've got LSU out in front, but dude, he may go. That visit will end today. He may go home today, and Texas gets on the phone with them, or Oklahoma, or even Missouri, and changes their kind of arrangement. And this thing could change. I mean, this one is pretty clearly been driven. Like, I hate to use the term handler because it's got a bad association, but nowadays everybody has agents. I mean, the Javion Cole has an agent.
Hey, it feels like he has two of them. Like he tagged two guys. I'm like, how are you guys gonna split this puny commission? But I guess
Is that puny though? We're talking several $100,000.
Yeah, well, you're right, but I mean, look, compared to NFL agents,
Sure.
right? It's like even if these guys get 3% and they land this guy, I mean, it feels like Javion Cole. I don't know what he commands on the open market, but let's say he gets to $300K or something like that, right? That they would get 9,000. They would get $9,000 to split. You know what I mean? But like, does that cover their travel expenses to all these spots?
Well, they're getting official visits. Like in the case of Dominic Williams, the guy that's accompanying him on all the trips. I don't even know if this guy's serving as an agent or what. He's a former coach. I'm assuming he's got some kind of stake in this. But
Yeah,
he's getting to go on all these visits. He's getting to get all these 5-star meals and nice hotel rooms. So, and then maybe gets a little change in his pocket at the end. But this one's always struck me as one that maybe has been driven a lot by NIL stuff. So, like, am I kicking this one down the road and saying it's LSU? I think that's what our answer is going to be at some point. But, dude, this one strikes me as one that could have some really weird twists and turns at the end. So I'm not closing the book on the Dominic Williams one just yet.
Cody, you got anything for Jason? I have another question. I don't know if there's anything you wanted to squeeze in with. We can.
I was just going to ask about Dominic, so that's all I got.
All right. What about? All right. So Jason, we'll just do this one, and then we'll get you out of. Oh, but before I ask you one more question, I did have a question about a couple of things on Orange Bloods that people had brought up. One, do you know the difference between TSA pre-check and clear?
That's a random question. A little bit. I have TSA pre-check. Are you familiar with TSA pre-check at all?
Clear's the
exactly. Clear is the facial recognition.
I've been thinking about getting them, and there was a thread on the message board saying that the poors are trying to ruin clear for the rest of society, because I guess they're getting rid of clear in California because they say people shouldn't be able to pay more money to get through faster, and that's ruining people.
Now, whether or not that's going to spread, you're right. But yeah, that is, I don't know if it's been approved, but it's being discussed in California. I saw that. I have pre-check and I love it. For the most part, it's good. Every once in a while, you'll get in a line. You're like, damn, this pre-check line's longer than the regular check line. But you don't have to take your laptop out of your bag. You don't have to take your shoes off. I did pre-check and I somewhat mistakenly checked global entry, which was great. The rare occasion I travel internationally, like Cody said, dude, it's so weird. I was coming back. I don't remember where I was, Cody, but I came back from somewhere and I just walk up to this monitor and I look at it just like I'm looking at this camera and it says, okay, Jason, you're cool to walk into the country. I'm like, oh shit. It's like, okay. So, but yeah, man, if you don't have either one, man, I highly recommend Clear. I think like Cody said, is facial recognition. Maybe it even gets you through a little quicker, but pre-check for sure, man. It's well worth it. It's good for like 7 or 8 years. Huh?
Do you buy both? So, but if you get cleared, do you get TSA pre-check with it?
No. Good question.
I think clear is better for sure. I think there's two different lines. There's quicker, but pre-check, it depends on where you go. Austin might be busy, but you just have to go in. I mean, our appointment took 10 minutes. I've heard of people's appointments taking like 2 hours. But
yeah, ours wasn't that bad. We did
you just have to go in and get like approved that you're, a U.S. citizen and X, Y, Z and all this stuff. But I mean, it is worth its weight in gold.
Do you use pre-check every time we go around somewhere, Cody? You're
I've had it
on
for
this door, having to wait in these long lines, and you don't have to.
Yeah, I've had it since we got married. It's like an hour and a half or a year and a half, I should say. And it's like night and day.
Alex, you know how much I love pre-check? Back when I first got it, if I had it and my kids were flying with me, they got it also. Well, they don't do that anymore unless your kids are like 6 or something. So it might apply for your young kids. But anyways, now if I fly and my kids don't get pre-check, and I'm like, all right, kids, I'll meet you down at the gates. I go pre-check. I make them regular lines. So.
It's like you guys are old enough to hang with the.
Exactly. You guys can figure this thing out. Just don't get arrested, and I'll see you at the gate.
to hang with the steerage. Money B brings up a good point that I was going to look into. I think that there's some credit cards will give you so I'm gonna take care of that. I feel like my travel schedule for the year is mainly over, but I'm gonna have like probably two more trips. It'll depend. Oh, one more.
It's good for like 7 years, Alex. If you sign up, it's good for something crazy like 7 years.
When is the Rivals 5-star?
June 20 something.
Okay, I'm thinking of flying into that, so I might get it done before then. Okay, and then so the final question, Jason, we'll get you out of here. Thanks again for joining. So Texas is just out for Jordan Davison. They just don't care. They had a chance at him. Did they have a chance?
Yeah.
Or is this just them saying like, we don't think we're gonna get him? Why? Like we think James Simon, we're gonna get him. He's gonna commit the next couple of weeks. Let's take the bird. I guess now with the 2 birds. Whenever you take the Ricky
Simon.
What?
Ricky Simon. Yeah.
Ricky Stewart. Ricky Stewart.
Yes. James Simon, Ricky Stewart. Sorry.
Is Ricky Stewart a NASCAR driver?
It sounds like he should be, right?
Ricky Stewart, the number 19 corn pop, corn pops car. Do you think that it was just a matter of saying, man, we like James Simon enough to where it's like, even if he's only 85% of Jordan Davison, we'd rather have 85% of Jordan Davison than 0%.
I think there's maybe some truth to that. And let me just kind of start from the beginning. Davison, I'll start in the middle, I guess. I mean, Jordan Davison has visited Texas a ton, including in April he visited, okay? He was real quiet after that Texas visit, though, in April. Didn't do any interviews, snuck out, nobody saw him really, didn't do any interviews. I'm not even 100% convinced he actually showed up. He was supposed to be there for that big recruiting weekend. But Ohio State has been surging there. Okay. Ohio State's been the clear leader. That's been known. Well, this week it comes out that, hey, maybe Texas is fading and kind of all but out. Well, I checked around and no, Texas is eliminated. Texas is no longer being considered by Jordan Davison, 5-star runner out of Mater Dei. But then listen, Alex, then I checked with a source in Austin. They're like, let's put it out there. I said, yeah, dude, Texas dropped that dude. So it was like, I'm hearing it was more of a Texas decision than a Jordan Davison decision. Maybe that's kind of like I said in my 3-2-1, it's like, you're fired. You can't fire me. I quit. No. So who actually broke up first? I don't know for sure, but I know that there are people in Austin saying, hey, dude, yeah, we moved on in this one. So that made me think, okay, they probably have something cooking with James Simon. Maybe he's silently committed. I actually did reach out to James Simon on Monday, and he said, nah, he goes, I'm still looking at like 2 or 3, Texas being one of them, probably going to decide in May. So I don't know where exactly the fallout was. There was something that was kind of relayed to me like, hey, you've got to have a different mindset to come in this Texas running back room. And maybe that just means like other schools have a more inviting depth chart than Texas does for Jordan Davison. When you've got, a sophomore starter in CJ Baxter and Jaden Blue still, fairly young and new. And then you got 2 stud true freshman running backs. Maybe he came in and didn't really like what he saw in terms of the depth chart. And Texas was like, you know what, if that's your attitude, we'll go get somebody else because we want dogs in here who are willing to compete. But bottom line is what you need to know is you have Texas and Jordan Davison, barring some complete dramatic changes. Those two have completely gone their separate ways.
Wow. Yeah, bad news for gosh.
They'll be
Bad
fine,
news
dude.
for
Like I
Jason
always
to
say,
leave us with. Yeah, Jason
in
just
Jashard
Jason,
choice, I trust, man. If Jashard,
Jason moving down the mod rankings here on
yeah.
he moved down him whenever he made the post on Orange Bloods, but now he's moving down him on the here in the YouTube streets, man, having to break the bad news. But all right, brother. Well, thanks so much for. I guess we don't have a podcast or anything to do. I guess we'll pop back on
We'll say
tomorrow.
Wednesday, I can't even keep up. Yeah, no
Yeah.
podcast today, but we'll be around tomorrow.
We'll be back around tomorrow. Jason, thank you so much, brother.
All right, later, guys. Later,
Good
Cody.
to talk to you soon.
Yep.
All right, so Cody, man, that's all I got for today. I don't know if you have anything else you want to.
I think that's interesting that because when you do look at the depth chart just straight up, like, Ohio State's getting rid of Quinshon Judkins next year, Travion Henderson, probably going to declare. That backfield is wide open, and everybody knows what the Texas backfield looks like with Blue and Baxter this year, and then you just had Clark and Gibson come in this year's recruiting class, and they've already started adding bodies to next year's recruiting class. Like, if Davison wants to come in and have the opportunity to run for 1,500, 2 racks, whatever it is, like, Ohio State's the spot.
He's going to Ohio State.
That early usage. I mean, that was
it felt like such a found money pipe dream to me to begin with. I'm like, wait, Texas is getting this dude.
And
I understand things are going good in recruiting, but I mean, like, really?
If they can, I mean, Tashard Choice is a phenomenal running back coach, and the ability he's had to bring these guys along and do what he's done the last couple of years. If they can project that's going to continue happening, if they can bring in 2 guys every class and they can get this thing, it's a well-oiled machine, period. And if you can devote that energy towards, a defensive tackle or a cornerback instead of a running back that's just going to add almost too much depth to the running back room to cause almost a headache. Like, I get it. It sucks because he's a super talent, but I get it. Makes sense. Saves you a couple bucks and some energy. That's, you don't need to go to the finish line with this kid to fight Ohio State when Ohio State clearly has, 300 vacated carries going into 2025.
Yeah, we're going to have to go to the mattresses for this guy and going to the mattresses for this guy whenever you go against Ohio State and everything that they have to offer on top of the fact that the depth chart is wide open. Doesn't seem like an efficient way to spend your time. So I think that's how that one goes.
Speaking of running back, you had one thing you texted me before the show, and I want to know what you got this question from, because I thought it was an off.
Oh no, it was just something from Orange Bloods. It was another one of those things like the TSA pre-check.
Okay, and
that was the other question on Orange Bloods. I thought it was an interesting topic, whether if we wanted to get into it, but it was who was the best call, who's the most recent generational great college running back. The most recent.
It's easy, isn't it? Isn't it just Jonathan Taylor?
I mean, it feels like. I mean, I guess you wouldn't say Bijan was like that because he only played 3 years, and so I mean, JT only played 3 years. He had better, I think he had better overall counting stats, right? Just better from a pure volume perspective. JT's the first one that my mind went to. People on Orange Bloods, of course, were saying, well, if you want to talk about the last great generational one, you got to go all the way back to LaDainian Tomlinson or some of the rest. It's like, was JT really, do we look back and say generational gets thrown around a lot?
But you're talking about college too. Like, you don't have to go back to LaDainian. Like, LaMichael James finished 3rd in the Heisman that one year, and he rushed for over 1,500 yards his 3 years, 15, 17, 18 in Oregon. 1,500 as a freshman. Like, there's different aspects. Like, you remember how explosive he was in that Oregon offense. Like, college is a tough question to say, generational can be taken in multiple facets.
I can't believe it, but you and I both came to the same conclusion about it. It was a long discussion on the board. I think that the answer is the most recent generational, if we're going to talk about it.
Yep.
Jonathan Taylor. Now, if you have questions, email me, alex@rosterwatch.com. You can also send me a DM on X @AlexDunlapNFL. Thank you so much to everybody in the chat for being here today. It would not be a show without you guys, man. We certainly appreciate you guys. We love you guys. We cannot thank you enough. Gosh, man. So got up to almost 700 people here in the chat. So awesome to have everybody there. If you could please remember to like the show, subscribe to the channel. We would certainly appreciate that. And Anwar returns tomorrow, hopefully with some quotes from Sark and some things to talk about. Cody will be around here on Orange Bloods Live and on the website. Make sure to keep an eye out for his stuff. For Cody Carpentier, I'm Alex Dunlap. We will see you tomorrow right here